Hello and welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I'm James Currie with the Communication Department here at MCHD. I'm talking to Dr. Mike Hoppe. He's the senior pastor at Saraland United Methodist Church in Saraland, Alabama. Dr. Mike, good morning.
Morning, James. Thanks for having me on today.
Yes, thank you for being on again. We're going to give you the dubious title of being the Enneagram expert, if that's okay with you.
Well, I don't know if I'm exactly the Enneagram expert, but I can tell you that it's helped me a lot. I've done a lot of studying of it, and I've used it not only here with my staff and some members, but also with my family. So it's really helped me a lot, and I'm glad I can share more about this tool with other people.
Well, let me give a quick Cliff Notes version of it. The Enneagram system is a personality profile. There's 9 different types. Type 1 is the perfectionist. I've got to read here for a second. Type 2 is the helper. Type 3 is the achiever. Type 4 is the individualist. Type 5 is the investigator. Type 6 is the loyalist. Type 7 is the enthusiast. Type 8 is the challenger. And type 9 is the peacemaker. So today we are focusing, this is part 1 of our 9-part series. We're going to focus on the perfectionist. So that's the type 1 person. So go, tell me what you know.
Well, that's great. I'd recommend if someone's watching this particular video and you haven't yet had an opportunity to take the test, that you find that online. You can Google. There are some free tests. There's some paid tests, and I recommend finding it. If you happen to be a number 1, and by the way, having a number doesn't mean better or less than any other number. They're just 9 different numbers that correspond to different personality styles. Mm-hmm. And even if you're not yourself a 1, you may have a 1 in your life, like I do. In fact, number 1 seem to surround me. I'm married to a 1. I have several staff members who are 1s. And so finding the core of what a 1 is has really helped me in my marriage. It's helped me in my relationships, managing staff and working in an office setting. So a 1, yes, you called it a perfectionist, and that is a common name for it. Some people call it a reformer, only because a perfectionist can come across sometimes as sounding negative, but it's not. None of the personality styles are negative. But a 1, you might know if you're a 1, if you're, for example, a person who likes to be very organized. Everything has a place. You love lists. You love labels. You're the kind of person that maybe folds your underwear. Everything looks perfect at your house. And because at the core, a 1 likes to be good. They like to follow the rules. They like everything in its place and everything orderly. And so that kind of characterizes a 1, and that's positive. And one of the reasons 1s can be called reformers is that they love to improve the world where they live. So if you work with a 1, they may come in and notice that the structure of the business needs to be remodeled. Everything needs to be changed, and they like to get everything categorized. I have some friends that work in an office, and they noticed all of their accountants and all of their administrative assistants were 1s because they love the details and getting everything in order. Mm-hmm. But on the other side, sometimes it can really frustrate a 1 when things aren't in order. And so there are negative sides to every characteristic as well. So a negative characteristic perhaps of a 1, or instead of saying negative, maybe you could call it a growth area, would be that 1s can be very angry. You notice this is characteristic of 1s, that 1s get angry and irritated when rules aren't followed, when people around them aren't doing what they're supposed to do. If people aren't working as hard as they are, it can be something that 1s get really angry about, and 1s can be very critical of others as well. So that criticism is something that's pretty characteristic of a 1. So in my own life, when I've encountered this, at first, before I knew of Enneagram, I'd taken other personality profiles, and they're really good too. There are lots of tools out there, but Enneagram was particularly helpful for me. When dealing with 1s, when you come across that, what appears to be maybe judgmentalism or criticism, it can be hard for those of us who are not 1s to understand that or how to take that. And what helped me in relating to ones is to realize that that judgment and that criticism that ones share and their frustration when things aren't going the way they are isn't because they hate that thing. It's because they love it deeply and they want that thing to be its very, very best.
Mhm.
And so they strive for their very best to make the best and the people around them to be the very best. So those are some of the big characteristics of a one.
Yeah, I noticed also too in reading that they have a strong moral compass. It seems
Yes.
like they have a very strong feeling and opinion about what is right and what is wrong. And just like you touched on there, there are certain job categories that this this personality type is perfectly suited for. Like accountants, like you mentioned, everything has to be in a row and a column and a checklist and an order. um, I talked to one of my friends here at work in the hallway, and she stopped me and she said, I love the Enneagram. I bet you'll never guess what personality type I am. And I said, you're a one. And she said, that's right, I'm a one. And my husband is a
Right.
seven. So, and we talked a little bit about that. So, I mean, it's so important to know, who you are. I mean, there's people are longing all the time for a sense of self. Where do I fit into the world? How do I relate to other people? But it starts by, and I'm using a Michael Jackson line here, he starts by looking at the man in the mirror. I mean, you've got to start by knowing who you are first. And once you know who you are, then you can relate to other people. Now you talked about, growth, which would be the healthy attributes of the nine, and then the stress or the unhealthy attributes of it. So when they're healthy, can you talk a little bit about that? All of the good, positive, warm fuzzies and things that they feel for their personality.
Sure. The Enneagram actually is pretty deep, and we're covering very surfacey things at this level, but there's much more to know about it. Every number has points to a stress number and points to a health number. So ones, if they're in a really healthy place, ones tend to point towards a number seven. A number seven in their characteristics are people who are really filled with joy. They tend to be the most optimistic of all the numbers. They tend to love spontaneity. So one who likes things structured and organized, when they're really healthy, they allow some of that spontaneity and joy to come into their life.
Mhm.
And that's when you can tell one is in a healthy place. But when a one becomes stressed, when a one is really in a bad place, they move towards more of the number four and what you might think of more of the negative characteristics of a number four. A one would, in that case, demonstrate some moodiness, irrationality. So if they're frustrated and in that anger place, that irrationality and that moodiness might come out, and you start to see that more in that characteristic of a one.
Yeah, we talked, like I mentioned just a moment ago, my coworker and I, and she said, that she understands, okay, well, when her husband is feeling this way or he's in this particular mood, it's a temporary thing. I mean,
Yeah.
but you understand, okay, he's coming from this particular place or he's
Mhm.
saying this particular thing because of whatever is happening at that time. It's not a permanent thing, right? So, I mean, it's just good to
Right.
know, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, kind of thing.
No,
Don't yeah, don't close the door on somebody just because they're having a bad day. Once you understand why they're having that bad day or where they're coming from.
that understanding, and this is why I believe it's really great that you're doing a series like this, because this is healthy. This is um, related to mental health, related to relational health, and that can impact physical health as well, as we all
Hmm.
know. So to know ourselves and to know where other people are coming from is really, really, it's really healthy. And if we can save a marriage out there, if we can save a work relationship by knowing some of these things, it's really well worth it. One last thing I might mention too about Enneagram, to go a little deeper, is there are these things called wings, and every number tends to have a wing. And a wing is a number on either side of your number. So if you're a 1, you are either going to be a wing 9 or a wing 2. And that brings a little bit more flavor of personality. They're not just 9 personalities. It's like shades of blue. There's lots of shades of blue. So
Yeah.
every person is going to have their own little shade of being a 1. And some gravitate more towards having more 9 characteristics and some more 2 characteristics. 2 being much more people oriented and working much more with people. And 9's a little bit more of wanting to keep peace among people. So that's interesting to find out too. Once you found out your core number, then you can look more deeply and discover which wing you more likely have.
Now, I'm going to post the links also too from the Enneagram Institute, specifically for 1s. But here's some real life people that are examples of 1s. So let me just kind of run through the list here, not in any particular order. Joan of Arc, Mahatma Gandhi, Pope John Paul II, Jimmy Carter, Prince Charles, Hillary Clinton, Ralph Nader, George Harrison, Jerry Seinfeld, where is he? Harrison Ford, Julie Andrews. So,
what you see in that list, there are some, even though there are a wide variety, a spectrum of types of beliefs and perspectives, they all strongly advocated and believed for the thing that they believe. So you can see that oneness.
Oh yeah, very, very strong moral compass that we spoke about. Well, Mike, thank you for the overview on 1s, and our next series or the next session that we'll be recording will be on the personality type 2, which is the helper. So we hope you'll join us for that. Mike, thanks again.
Thanks for having me.